And so let me try my luck with you again, Schefter. I tried connecting dots earlier this morning on Aaron Rodgers in Denver, and you went along with me. So now I've been trying very hard to connect Sean Payton's dots to Jerry Jones and Dallas, where he had an early part of his career on that offensive staff. Is that a reasonable suspicion for me to have?
Well, I don't know that Sean Payton is thinking that way right now, but certainly everybody else across the country is. Because from the moment that it came out that he was stepping down, everybody was wondering, oh, is he going to coach the Dallas Cowboys this year? And then we heard Sean Payton say, I'm not planning to coach in 2022. So everybody then jumped ahead to next year. And here's the bottom line. Whether he's in Dallas or not, this is not going to go away. This is just going to hang over the Dallas Cowboys all year long unless they win and win big and make an extended playoff run. Every single Cowboys fan is going to want Sean Payton. They already want a new coach, it seems like, right now. So where is this story going to go? We're talking about it on this show this morning in late January, Greeny. We're going to talk about it February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, all the way until the Cowboys do make a run to have the kind of playoff season that they want, or they don't, and we continue to talk about Sean Payton going there.
Yeah, look, Schefter's already seen the rundown. I guarantee you it's pretty much it's our lead every day in July. Dianna, you know Sean Payton very well. What do you know what's in his mind?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about it, but maybe he'll be sitting here at the desk because we know that he wants to get into the media. He's got interest in it, and I think we can all agree he would be phenomenal. The producers would be rapping him, though, every 15 seconds because, man, that man can talk.
I know how they feel.
Yeah. Yes, me as well. Look, Sean definitely needs to recharge. He's been very open about that. He spoke to the media about that. You saw that 2 days ago, or at least a day ago, in his press conference. But in terms of the future for him, he's not hanging up football. At this point, he still has passion for it. He still wants to be a coach. A teacher is what he calls himself. I think this last season really exhausted him between the fact that they had all these injuries for different starting quarterbacks. We know that they had to relocate to Texas for a month there because of the hurricane. But in terms of the future, do I think that Sean Payton's done with football? No way. I think he's going to come back. You made an interesting
point when you and I were talking this morning, though, that he is a person who likes to be in control of things. And in Dallas, we all know there's only one person in control of things.
Yeah, and look, I understand why you're connecting the dots, right? But I think something that you have to think about when you talk about Sean Payton going to Dallas is in New Orleans, Sean Payton has control over every single thing that happens, from the what's up at the Jumbotron to what player they're signing. In Dallas, Jerry Jones is that person.
Right.
That would be a very interesting pairing in terms of control and power. But I do think that the allure, the important part of this, and why I do think Dallas would be on the table, is just through conversations, not even just with Sean myself, but with people around him. He wants to work for an organization that is going to have a little bit more juice in the league. Work for an owner that's going to scream loudly if they're not getting treated or getting the calls going their way, like we saw in New Orleans, where they really struggled with that.
Well, I mean, you can't ask for a better situation in that regard than Dallas. So if you're Jerry, I'm making you Jerry Jones now for a day. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
What would you do?
Listen, wherever Sean Payton is, I'm going right to Sean Payton, because at the end of the day, everyone has a price, Greeny. Everyone has a price. And when I look at my coaching situation, we know how games are won and lost in this league. They're minuscule, okay? Like, the difference between winning and losing, a lot of times is situational football, game management. What are the issues that we talk about with Mike McCarthy all the time?
Yeah.
Those two situations. And on top of that, Sean Payton might be the best coach in the league as far as dealing with quarterbacks. He knows how to bring the most out of quarterbacks. Well, guess what? You made this huge investment into Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's a really good quarterback. Do you think Sean Payton could take Dak Prescott to a whole nother level?
Of course.
I do. So to me, it makes that much more sense to at least, I'm going to explore that. I'm going to do everything I can possibly do to try to bring Sean Payton into the mix.
So, Lewis, there's so many angles to this, but one of them I'm fascinated by is the dynamic, and Schefter brought it up, that we use the expression lame duck. There may not be a lamer duck, I don't mean that as disrespectfully as it might sound, than Mike McCarthy would be going into the season with the specter of Sean Payton hanging above him. If you're assessing it as the person at the top of the organization, how does that factor into your decision-making?
As far as whether or not I would want to go after Sean
Just make the
Payton
move
right now?
I mean, as opposed to waiting a year.
Yeah, I mean, look. I don't really think it wouldn't matter to me whether or not Dallas had made a significant playoff run this year or not. If the idea or the possibility of me acquiring Sean Payton via a coach trade from another organization, given this situation, was presented to me, I'm jumping all over it. I'm all over it. And in this particular situation in Dallas, for sure, because of how the offense in particular has underperformed, given the quality of the talent that they have, I'm definitely all over it. Look, there's two guys in my time in the past 2 years in Monday Night Football who, when we talk to them in production meetings, you leave out of there going, that's the kind of guy that I want running my organization, because he gets the big picture and the little picture. It's Mike Tomlin and Sean Payton. These two guys make you go, hey, is the production meeting over? Can we talk a little bit more? Can you tell us a little bit more about why you see your team this way, why you see the other team that way, why you see this player this way, why you see this player fitting into this kind of role, why you feel like this potential, acquisition down the road could help your football team, or why you think this potential acquisition would not help your football team? These two guys are special. And I know that they both this year were under contract to other teams, but I have said it consistently. Sean Payton, Mike Tomlin are the two people that if I was a football team looking to do something, if you want to talk about outside of the box and swinging for the fences, if you were looking to do that, these are the two guys you would go after. And now that Sean has said, look, I need maybe a year off, I need to recharge for whatever reason he does, you're right, Damien. I would throw whatever I need to throw at him to go, could you coach this year? Because he's that special. Him and Mike are that special in my eyes.
It's going to be fascinating to watch.
And one last thing. I know everyone you talked about the power structure in Dallas.
Yeah.
Bill Parcells was there.
But
it didn't work out well, though. I mean, that's the point. It didn't go well.
And Parcells is in Peyton's ear on everything.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.